Joining me now is Michael Weiner. He's fast becoming one of our most popular guests. You know, good things come to those who wait. Michael has waited and waited and waited, and he's finally matured like a fine wine, hitting his peak. He's at his peak in his career.
There you go.
Good things come to those who wait, and he's been waiting, and now it's happening. He's become very popular in our broadcast. I'm not kidding. A lot of people love it when Michael Weiner comes on. Look at this headline. This was in my Worldview report tonight. The gates are closing. Famine, the money trap, and a digital net being drawn over the world. That's from my Worldview report commentary tonight. I want to talk to Michael Weiner about it. The gates are closing. Folks, I want you to do something most people in our culture have not been trained to do, and basically that is to step back and see things as the big picture, not in bits and pieces. And I went into the closing of the gates of the sea. Today, the gates of the global economy are not city walls. They are narrow straits of water. And right now, Iran has effectively shut the Strait of Hormuz, the passage through which roughly a fifth or a quarter of the world's oil normally moves. That alone should have every thinking person paying attention. But it does not stop there. According to Iran's own state-aligned outlet, Tehran and what it calls the Resistance Front have now vowed to activate a second front and choke the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, that slender gateway between the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, most likely through their proxies on the Yemeni coast. Think about what that means. Two of the most critical maritime gates on the planet threatened simultaneously by a regime that openly declares its hatred of Israel and the West. This is not abstract geopolitics. This is the deliberate strangling of the arteries that feed and fuel the nations, and the markets know it. Oil leaped the moment the moment the threat was made. Got to take a T off that leapt. Or maybe it is leapt. Yep, it is leapt. The lesson the church should take is not panic. Okay, I agree with that. Now I'm going to get into the famine. Here's the part the mainstream coverage almost entirely misses. That same Strait of Hormuz that carries the oil carries fertilizer. And we can go on from there. But folks, this is a big deal. Let's go to that first before we go to the money printing. Let's talk to Michael Weiner. Strait of Hormuz is bad enough. Now let's add in the other strait that we're talking about tonight, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Welcome back, Michael. See, I told you you're popular.
Thank you very much. Let's just remember that right now, when they talk about gaslighting, I feel like I'm being gaslighted every day, and I'm really very upset at the administration. Stop telling me every day we got a deal,
You know, that's so funny, Mike, because you and I have not rehearsed this. You and I have not rehearsed this, but I said that the other day as well. I said, I'm tired of it. It's on again, off again, ceasefire, deal. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Most administrations don't act like this. They don't do this kind of thing.
Just think about what he just said earlier today when he said, Lebanon and Israel have made a deal. That's great. Hezbollah comes out immediately and says, we're not abiding by it. They made a deal specifically because of Hezbollah, and Hezbollah said no. So where's the deal? Then we're sitting back with this Hormuz and the other straits issue that we're looking at. When we're talking about that we've won the war's over. Well, if we've won it, why is this going on? Why was this not dealt with in the first place? Why was this blow allowed to happen? If they have the capacity there to deal with it, then deal with it. End it. Open up the Straits of Hormuz. If these people have no ships, they have no ability, they have nothing, why are they controlling 20% of the world's economy right now, and we're doing nothing about it? To me, that's just right up there, right after this nuclear threat. End it, okay? Or stop telling me daily it's ending, because it's not. So either, the truth is very simple. It's black and white. Gaslighting is gray. The Democrats do it okay all the time, constantly. Trust me, I have no love for those socialist, communist lunatics on the other side of the world. But for goodness sakes, we would hope that the people that are conservative, Christian-binding people would just say it the way it is and stop playing these two-sided games. It's very frustrating to all of us.
Yeah. What about the fact that you're talking about now fertilizer problems, and now you're talking about crop problems? And I mean, at what point do we have global famine? And I'm not saying this is what laying the foundation for it. But, you go into the book of Revelation, you're in the tribulation, and that's exactly what you got. I mean, Jesus spoke about that in Matthew 24, wars, rumors of wars, famines, plagues, pestilence. I mean, one has to wonder if a lot of these things are not man-made created, right? The globalists and the wars.
Look what just happened in the Iowa race. That was the one where Trump's candidate that he backed lost. That's a whole farming belt area. Fertilizer is ultimately listen, I'm an Iowa lover. I rode the Ragbri for the people in Iowa there and know it 18 times. So at the end of the day, I love Iowa. But the farmers there have got to be in need of those fertilizers. And I got a feeling it's going to play havoc on whoever Trump chooses. And, I think that was probably one of the issues involved with the election, that the elections that happened Tuesday, excuse me.
So let's beyond famine and fertilizer prices and crop prices and food prices. Meanwhile, they're quietly turned the money printing back on. For more than 3 years, the Federal Reserve told us it was tightening, pulling money out of the system to fight the inflation it created. Then last year, it reversed course. It quietly halted its balance sheet reduction and began targeting purchases of Treasury bills to stabilize reserves, stepping back from the path of restraint it had publicly committed to. Alongside that shift, it stepped in with enormous emergency lending operations, including a single injection of more than $70 billion on the last trading day of the year, one of the largest such moves in history. Okay? So let's talk about all that money printing.
Well, we're on the precipice of the biggest financial money, shell game that's ever been placed on our country, and it's being placed on us. The currency situation and the debt and this crypto and the restructuring of the world, which we're going to go into, the digital and everything a little bit later. Understand the fact they have to somehow keep the balls juggling up in the air. They have to keep all these balls up. And one of them is this massive amount of money out there. When people say to me, well, can't we go back on the gold standard? Are you kidding me? How can we possibly do that? We have to be able to match it dollar for dollar wise with the amount of currency out there, which would mean we'd be pricing gold at like $60,000 an ounce in order to make it happen. So it's not going to happen. All we can do is hope to revalue it if it ever happens. But at reality right now it's to me a shell game of currencies, bonds, all leading up to the big potato at the end of the table, ladies and gentlemen, and that's the digital currency, digital money, new world monetary order that the elites in this country are going to dump on us, and it's going to be a hit that none of your financial planners are going to tell you about. You'll take a hit. And we're going to talk about that. But this currency situation is not unexpected. We have to buy all of our debt up by the end of the year. It's resurfacing right now. We had that debt covered at AAA ratings. Now we're AA rated because of Biden. And right now, nobody wants our debt. So who's going to buy it? We are. And who is us? The United States of America, us, the people. We are the suckers who, again, will be financing the irresponsibility of all of our politicians, Democrats and Republicans, who spend our money like drunken sailors. And their solution is to keep printing, like we accuse the Democrats of, as a means of offsetting the reality of we're going into an abyss. And sooner or later, we're not going to get a rope to get out.
Listen, this is Jamie Dimon now. I want to talk about, go back to the Clarity Act. Jamie Dimon. This is going viral, last few days. Watch this.
Right.
All right, come on. Why is it not playing? Here we go.
It could be in anyone's wallet, and it goes to a third wallet, a fourth wallet. So the first one may be legitimate, second one may be a sex trafficker. So, this is complicated, and the government needs to do it thoughtfully. If they don't do it thoughtfully, it'll be a huge problem.
So are you happy with the way the Clarity Act is turning out?
No, because it allows them to effectively pay interest on deposits, stable coins or something like that, without the protection that they should have. And it doesn't do anything for AML/BSA. It has almost no legal protections. So no, the banks will not accept it that way.
They won't
and the ABA, the small banks, the credit unions, it's not just the big guys. I'm not worried about stablecoin, but if it happened, I'm telling you, I would have nothing to do with it, and it would eventually blow up on its own. Okay, but that's my personal thing. But I do understand the concern of all the other banks. So,
Well, the markup is coming. I mean, what are you going to do about
it
it?
is. We'll fight it. If we lose, we lose, and we'll live.
Okay.
But it will be fought. This will not be. No one's going to bow down to this guy, okay, or that company. And but he's the only one,
Yeah.
and he's spending hundreds of millions of dollars in Washington. This thing.
He said he's representing the whole
He's full of
industry.
shit.
Well, we're going to watch that one.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, this is turning into a big fight between the whole, each industry. And you're talking about blockchain and getting blockchain out.
But we do blockchain.
You've been doing that for a long
We
time.
have connections. We have we're going to do it. I think it's a legitimate technology. I think stablecoin can be a legitimate payment system.
All right. So Jamie Dimon is not a happy camper. Now, we had a U.S. Senator responding to him, basically telling him, I'll play it in a minute, that he either is being, not honest, he's misleading people, or hasn't read the bill. Why is Jamie Dimon so upset about this, Michael?
Well, we are on the precipice of the third major financial reset in America. And I'm saying this today on TV. And I've always been right, Brandon, through the years. I warned before we did it's true. It's true. Let's go back to April and April and March.
So he's always been right, Logan.
That's right. Right now, I am 100%. Listen, when you go back to March and April, and I said when the Genius Act passes, watch the downswing that goes on. And what happened? The Clarity Act and everybody rushing to digital currencies and all of this activity. Now, here's the big thing. In 1933, we did a show recently about the complete wiping out of an entire generations of wealth in America. And it wasn't done in years. It was done in a day by Roosevelt when he changed the gold standard, literally didn't go off gold, but literally changed our currency, devalued our money, made gold illegal. Then we had Nixon, who illegally, and on the own video that you showed the night that Nixon announced it, and you still have that video, It said right there, I am temporarily taking us off the gold standard. Well, guess what? That was temporarily 55 years ago. Why are we still temporarily still off of it? And then we're coming up to the biggest financial marathon of wealth redistribution and changing of currencies that we have ever seen in our lifetime. It's going to involve AI, it's going to involve digital, it's going to involve crypto, and it's going to involve the banks. And the problem is, out of all of this, when this all shakes out, Jamie Dimon doesn't like this because the banks want to create their own digital banking world. They don't want to be told what to do by the stablecoin people or the government or the Clarity Act boys or the AI guys or the Coinbase guys that Jamie Dimon just said the S word about. They don't want that. They're fighting over it. Then you got the government who's trying to play into the whole cryptocurrency war and the cryptocurrency and digital war by trying to legalize it. Then I hate to say this, and listen, I'm a Republican, I'm a Reagan Republican, but I do not like the fact that the president and his family are huge investors and they see their future wealth in the crypto market and they're huge in it. So they're in it. Everybody's in it except the American people. And what's going to happen is coming up to this debt situation as it all falls available, as it all comes in on us. They're going to turn around, the government will turn around and say we all have to tighten our belt and we have to swallow up what's necessary to deal with this maybe by that time, like $41 trillion in debt. We have to devalue our money because when they go digital, it's going to be devalued in banking, devalued in crypto, devalued in digital. It's like a monopoly of insanity. And guess what? For all of you people out there listening right now, understand they're going to tell us to tighten our belts. We are going to tighten our belts like we have to watch them waste money, allow fraud to get committed. Can't they even, for goodness sakes, make sure if they spend money, it's being spent properly? No, they just send a check out. And guess, we are going to pay for all this. They expect us to pay for the fraud that they did against us. They want us to pay for the debt that they wasted, and they want us to pay for it. They're going to pay. They want us to suffer the consequences on our finances, and they want us to deal with it because we need to tighten our belts. Literally, there has to be some sort of day of reckoning on our end to start getting people in office that are financially responsible, not just people who have a familiar name or face, not accepting situations like in California where elections go on in 3 weeks. They could have an election end in India overnight, but we can't do it here in California. Why do people take 3 weeks to do something? To cheat. Why not? I lived in California. You can roll in from Alaska and go vote there. It's crazy. Let me just leave you with this, that if people do not recognize what's going to be happening in the months ahead and properly protect themselves, you are going to take a financial hit like those people took in 1933. And some of you that think the world's wonderful and your financial planner is doing a great job is the same thing as a person that called me up and said, oh, goodness, my financial planner said I shouldn't buy gold. He's selling me gold and I'm going to own physical gold. And I said, what are you going to own? She said, ETFs. I said, do you know what an ETF is? It's an exchange traded fund. You don't own gold. You're betting on the price. All they're doing is making sure you own it. Okay? So making sure that you don't do business elsewhere. If you're going to do something, own the physical market. With or without Swiss America, you have an opportunity right now to protect your assets. And one of the biggest things hanging out in revaluation will be retirement plans. All you people with IRAs, 401ks, guess what they're going to do? Because they know that the baby boomers and the wealth that's in here is the largest this country's ever seen retiring right now. And understand the fact that they want to get their hands on those trillions of dollars in retirement money. So if they can't create a chaotic situation, what came out of chaotic situations in America, ladies and gentlemen? TSA. Are they doing a great job right now? We could probably replace them privately and save a fortune. But they'll turn around and say, we need to nationalize your retirement money. We need to take control of it, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. We're going to do a better job of making sure, and you won't lose your money. We're going to handle it for you. Guess what? You won't have a beneficiary. You'll have no access to your money. You'll be changing hard dollars that you own right now for soft dollars. That's what Ronald Reagan worried about in 1986 when he did the gold and precious metals IRAs. And Chris and I deal every day with people that we're talking to. And then, well, I talked to my financial advisor. Please, okay? If you're talking about degrees in history, I think I can match it. Okay, so could Chris. But that doesn't make us geniuses. What makes us geniuses is serving you. This is your money. And if you don't pay attention to your money and you assume some other genius is going to take care of you, you're going to be just like the Jews in Germany. And you will suffer a consequence that it will be irretrievable. You will not recover from this. People did not recover in the 30s. They suffered the consequences. And I'm not. I assure you,
Michael is fired up. Let's go to Michael's fired up. Let's go to the clip by Nixon. I think that's very historic and important. Listen to this. This was back in August 15th, 1971. Here we go.
The strength of a nation's currency is based on the strength of that nation's economy. And the American economy is by far the strongest in the world. Accordingly, I have directed the Secretary of the Treasury to take the action necessary to defend the dollar against the speculators. I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States. Now, what does this action, which is very technical, what does it mean for you? Let me lay to rest the bugaboo of what is called devaluation. If you want to buy a foreign car or take a trip abroad, market conditions may cause your dollar to buy slightly less. But if you are among the overwhelming majority of Americans who buy American-made products in America, your dollar will be worth just as much tomorrow as it is today. The effect of this action, in other words, will be to stabilize the dollar.
Oh, yeah. How did that work out for us? Let's see.
If you want to talk about gaslighting, I am just as guilty as anybody else. I was a kid back then. I know you think I was about 250 years old then, Brandon, but the reality is we all sat back and did nothing. I don't even think I haven't watched and paid attention to it. None of us did. We sit back and allow this to happen, and we went from zero debt to $40 trillion legitimately since then. And Mr. Nixon, let me try to tell you the temporarily. What do you mean? I've got questions if you were still alive. What do you mean by he was temporarily doing it? How long? Define temporarily.
Define temporarily,
let's talk about the fact of when he talks about how you value what your dollars and your spending dollar is worth. Your spending dollar has absolutely nothing to do with what backs the dollar. The dollar was backed by the United States government and our economy, but our economy was backed by gold to give it an anchor. They took the anchor away, so we float. We're in a floating world. So this gaslight he just gave us of spending, I don't care about buying a car in Europe. What is our dollar backed by, Mr. Nixon? Tell me, please, what is our dollar backed by? Not what is my spending dollar. Welcome to gaslighting for people. This is gaslighting 101, everyone. This is what we're heading into again. And if we're trying to wake up our people at Worldview, you got a lucky day because you got somebody like Brannon who puts his life and his livelihood and his family on the line. And we should all support it and support his foundation to be able to keep dollars coming in, to keep this information coming out to you. But this is not rocket science. You don't have to be a master's degree from University of Chicago or have a law degree like me. You don't have to do anything. You just have to look at common sense. He's telling you you're going out to dinner tomorrow night and you might have to pay 10% more for that dinner. But he's not telling you that dollar bill that you had, that if you went to the bank the day before he said that, and you had to present it to the people at the bank, it said pay the bearer, they had to hand you money, gold or silver. You went there the next day after his temporary situation, and guess what you got? Nothing. Okay? Nothing. So if you don't think that's a stark reality, that's the reality we're heading into right now. This double talk and gaslighting, this one's fighting with that one, the Clarity Act, the cryptos, and all the rest of this stuff. I said a long time ago, this is S&H green stamps on steroids, and whoever thought up this whole idea probably bought a pet rock when he was a little boy. But this is exactly what we're looking at now, and you better wake up and you better take action.
Well, let me play you.
Take more.
I haven't seen this, so let me play this. See what we get here. I just asked for a video on comparing prices in the 1970s because you just heard Nixon say that it's going to stabilize the dollar. Don't worry about it. Whatever you buy, it's all going to be stabilized, right? All right. Let's see how well that went for this temporary situation that's still going on here now in 2026 that started August 15th, 1971. How stabilized has the dollar been in its purchasing power? Watch a little of this. Let's see what we get here.
Cost in America in the 1970s that reveals just how different that decade was. The prices seem impossibly low until you realize what people were earning. And if someone lived through it, they remember exactly what a dollar could buy. This was a time when a single income could support a family, when a new car cost less than a year's salary, when going to the movies cost pocket change and a tank of gas was cheaper than a meal at McDonald's. This was the decade that gave us stagflation, the oil crisis, and the end of the gold standard. Prices that had been stable for decades suddenly started climbing. The early 1970s felt like an extension of the prosperous post-war years. The late 1970s felt like economic uncertainty. Somewhere in between, the cost of living in America fundamentally changed. Let us walk through what things actually cost during that transformative decade. Some of these prices might bring back memories. Some might explain why older generations talk about how far money used to go. Let us step into that world. Housing in the 1970s was still within reach for ordinary families. In 1970, the median home price in America was $23,400. That seems shockingly low, but the median household income was around $9,870. So a house cost about 2.4 times annual income. By 1979, the median home price had climbed to $62,900, while median income reached $19,680. The ratio was widening, but a house still costs roughly 3.2 times annual income. Compare that to today, when homes often cost 6 to 8 times annual income. Mortgage rates in the early 1970s were around 7% to 8%. That felt normal. By 1979, rates had climbed past 11%, and they were heading toward the shocking 18% rates of the early 1980s. A 30-year mortgage on that $23,400 house in 1970 meant monthly payments of around $155. Most families could manage that on a single income. Rent was similarly affordable. A one-bedroom apartment in most cities cost between $150 and $200 per month in the early 1970s. Even in expensive cities like New York or San Francisco, you could find apartments for $300 to $400. By the end of the decade, those prices had roughly doubled, but they were still manageable for working people. Cars in the 1970s were big, heavy, and surprisingly affordable. A new Ford Pinto, one of the most popular economy cars, cost $1,850 in 1971. A Chevrolet Nova cost around $2,500. Even a full-size Chevrolet Impala could be had for $3,500. These were new cars rolling off the assembly line. More luxurious vehicles cost more, but were still reasonable. A Ford Mustang cost around $3,000. A Cadillac Eldorado, the height of American luxury, cost about $7,000 in the early 1970s. Even buying a Corvette, America's sports car, cost around $5,500. By the end of the decade, prices had climbed significantly. That same Ford Pinto cost closer to $4,000 in 1979. Full-size cars were pushing $6,000 to $8,000, but adjusted for income, cars were still more affordable than they would become in later decades.
Well, there you go. And that's just a little taste of how that dollar stayed stable, as Nixon said it would be, right? That did not happen, did it?
Real stable. When you look at it, Brandon, let's talk about what happened back when gold came available again. Gold has never been formally taken off the Roosevelt law. It was only opened up for purchasing by Gerald Ford as an executive order. That's why we buy the numismatic gold, so we can own something that is literally private and out of their reach. But what did gold do? When I started out, gold was $42.50 an ounce. Even a car, even if it was $5,000 in those days, now it's $50,000 or $55,000. It's gone up 10 times, 12 times in value. Mr. Nixon, gold has gone up 125 times in my lifetime. I bought a Krugerrand for $42.50 in 77, and now it's what? 125 times more I've seen it go up in value. What comes close to that? That's why the importance of the founders of our nation who put us under the gold standard must have known something back then, because they weren't just running around with their white wigs on trying to be cool. They were sitting back and saying, hey, I want to sit back and make sure that we have a stable nation. I believe in God's money. They were Judeo-Christian gentlemen, like it or not. Just like, unfortunately, yesterday we watched on TV, somebody won on Tuesday in New Jersey, and they're running around swinging, singing Allah Akbar. Unbelievable. In America, that's a reason why you protect yourself. But back to this. This situation has not gotten better. It's continuing to get worse. The youngsters out there are getting overpaid right now or overspending. So they will not recover. Keep an extra bed in your house or an extra couple rooms for them to move in, because they spend money like drunken sailors without any responsibility behind what they do. So right now, and then they look at us, the people over 65 that saved money, that were responsible, that built up financial stability for ourselves, that retired and did not want to be a burden on our family, our country, put away IRAs, put away retirement plans. And I have people every day who say one thing: I've done all the right things to live a good life, even if I live to be 100. That the reality is that somebody is attacking my money, and it's my own government.
Yep.
And that's why That's why all the stuff in the Constitution, for those people who maybe never read a lot of it, everything in there, the Bill of Rights, all the articles are about giving us the power against them. That's what a right to bear arms against them, right of free speech against them. They have now turned the table on us because everybody doesn't want to rock the boat. Well, you won't have to worry. The boat's going to sink one way or the other. And if you don't do something and have a life jacket and protect your estate, you're foolish.
Yep.
Really,
Let me go to this
really.
Senator Loomis, I guess, wanted to push back against Jamie Dimon. Here's what she had to say.
Really distasteful remarks, especially towards Brian Armstrong of Coinbase. I would say
Jamie said he thought was full of.
Yeah, exactly.
Full of.
So here's what
rhymes with it.
Yeah. Here's where Jamie Dimon is absolutely wrong. He either hasn't read the bill or he wants to mislead people. And let's put the best construction on this. He hasn't read the bill. AML, anti-money laundering provisions that apply to banks, and the Bank Secrecy Act provisions that apply to banks also apply to digital assets. It's in the bill. There's something like 16, 17 references in the bill to the application of those laws.
Okay, so Jamie Dimon is fighting with U.S. senators now over this. They're disagreeing. Now, I mean, wouldn't you think, I mean, of course, we would need to go look and see who is supporting her campaigns, right? Who's backing her? Who's filling her election coffers, right?
It even goes further than that. First of all, she doesn't have the qualification. Jamie Dimon, like it or not, I like what he said. Well, I like his mind. He says, I have the heart of a Democrat and the brain of a Republican. He is a brilliant man. He's one of the smartest financial people we've had since J.P. Morgan. He is also devious. That's why you got to understand about the situation with digital. Jamie Dimon, if you look at his history, he worked with David Rockefeller. And David Rockefeller was a guy like me who thought he was going to live forever. Unfortunately, that don't happen. David Rockefeller was a brilliant guy. He ran Chase Bank. And Jamie Dimon was his heir apparent. And then him and Jamie got so much legitimately against him at one point. They were fighting and knocking heads. Jamie left and went to work at another bank and built that bank up to huge success. And then Rockefeller and Chase grabbed him back again. He's a brilliant guy. For her to sit back and say that he has I'm going to say to her what I said to Nancy Pelosi. Read it, and then you can know it after we pass it. Did you read it? That's what I'll tell her. Do you understand it? You're trying to tell me you have the capacity to understand it? Is there an ABC book for American citizens to understand it? The Constitution was a lot easier to understand. It fits in a little small book than I'm sure that law, which is probably 2,000 pages. I started to look at it, and I don't have enough room on my desk. Literally, good luck. We find out all of these things later. So, yeah, it's just in the bill. Did he read it? I assure you, he read it better than she did. And I'm not saying he's the greatest person in the world, but these people are gaslight. It's almost like a show, gaslight America, because nobody wants to tell us the truth.
Okay, let me just make sure the audience understands why Jamie Dimon, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's opposed to this because he's basically arguing that these stable coins are going to not have the safeguards that they need, and it's going to get out of hand, right? That's a concern, right?
They also can be hacked. They are subject to hacking. It's like somebody said to me the other day when they go to a small bank and they're concerned. If you get a bank, it doesn't matter little or big. It's really, if you want somebody to treat you nice, go to a little one. But more importantly, what it's all about is their stability to back off the hacking of people getting into your bank accounts. And what Jamie Dimon is saying is that they can get into it, manipulate it, and literally destroy stability.
And if these stable coins are not regulated right with the proper protections, it in itself is going to become an issue where people are doing these things, and it's going to be like Enron, right? It's going to be like an Enron situation, like a Ponzi scheme type thing. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. And if people understand Enron, Nobody still to this day figured out what happened because they had so many layers of minutia, so many layers of garbage that by the time you tried to figure one thing out, one thing led to another that led to 10 others. They did a spider web that was untraceable. And that's literally why that guy, the gentleman who was Ken, I forgot his last name. He was the founder of Enron, and the other guy went to jail, Jeff, and skilling. They had skiing. He got out of jail, but after about 10 years. The reality is, look at a guy named Bernie Madoff. People wonder what Bernie Madoff was one of the founders of NASDAQ. Bernie Madoff was literally supported by major brokerage firms and literally major accounting firms. Ernst & Young, these companies came out and said, he's a great guy, buy his stuff. And nobody did their homework. And then who lost money? These companies didn't. None of them lose money. Mom and dad in America lost money and lost a huge amount of it. It's always us losing. It's always them telling us, well, it's well this, well that. It's almost like a word, well. I mean, it's scary, very scary.
Indeed it is. All right, so let's go to one other clip here I have for you. So basically, he's warning this thing could blow up and create a massive bubble and massive financial crisis. Maybe that's why by 2030, in part, you'll own nothing and be happy, because all these people are going to be allowed to rush into this thing, destroy the country, destroy the economy. Not to mention, by the way, how many are the bank? Is Jamie Dimon being a banker? Is he worried that people are going to be pulling their deposits out of the banks to go into these stable coins, and therefore it's going to cause banks to have a liquidity problem?
I think that Jamie Dimon of the banks are going to put a monkey wrench somewhere in the system to create enough problems there, to create a dilemma, to make them be the solution. And they're not a solution either, because they're creating digital banking. So they have their world, the other ones have their world, and all of this collapse that everybody's
Okay, can we just
worried-
stop right there? Two worlds. You got the banking industry going against the Trump administration, right? So are we talking about basically the Trump administration and tech bros? The tech bros would be a part of this?
Correct.
Okay. And then you got the traditional bank. So do we have here as a battle between the Trump administration and the new tech bros and the new economy and the new way of doing things and the old way? Is that what's going on here?
Well, there's going to be an old new way. The banks are going to have a digital banking, and these other tech people on the other side, which Trump is and his whole family is involved with, want to create their world financially, because you've got to understand that world is worth trillions.
Okay, so the banks want to come up. The banks want to do a new economy too, but the issue, I guess, what you're telling me is it's going to be a matter of who's controlling it. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct. And they realize the fact, wait a minute, Trump's not going to be around forever. And then Trump's realizing he ain't going to be alive forever. And the guys with their staple coins and everything, they look at this is their day in the sunshine. Meanwhile, you look at other nations. Let's step out of our world right now. India is literally going crazy for gold right now. Central banks that were forced to sell it right now, which brought the price down, which for buyers has never been a better time to buy gold now, for fundamentally going down for no reason other than the Iranian war. These central banks are going to be amassing huge amounts of gold because they want to protect themselves against this situation. It's going to happen. The banks, who you might call the old, they're going to call themselves, like you're saying, Brandon, the old establishment, but with their new concept of how they can keep control. And then you've got the digital people and the technocrats, and then you have something else, Kevin Warsh.
Oh, I was about to ask you, how does the new Fed chairman play into all this?
Because he's in their pocket of the technocrats. And he will go along with what they want against the banks. It's going to be a battle, but what I said at the beginning of this disaster of our conversation is, when this entire mess comes out, like what happened in 2008, when it does explode, the government will come out and say the only solution is to let us take control. That's what they've done every time. That gives them more power. That's how TSA came about. That's how come Homeland Security came about. That's how come Obamacare came about. That's how come Social Security came about. Their solution is more government, and I can run my bunny better than they can. I don't give money out where people go ahead and spend it all day long. I don't send somebody, or you don't send somebody a check for $10,000 and goes to Vegas with it when I'm supposed to be buying a construction at my house. I don't not pay attention to that. These guys do. Think about it. They give somebody $20 million and they don't follow up on it. They gave out all that money during COVID and they didn't track how it was going out. They gave out all that money in Minnesota to those child care places, or California, and nobody did anything to investigate what's going on. And this is what they want to do. They are going to create a panacea of problems, and the only solution will be more governmental control. That's going to be the solution. And that's where people who have not properly shored up their estate are going to have a problem. And for you people who are in the financial world, I'm going to just say like they did in the Margin Call movie, and that is, it's not their problem, it's your problem. Their job as a company is to stay in business. Your job is to invest with them.
But wait a minute. How do you know the crisis? How do we know the crisis isn't being created on purpose to create more government control?
That's what I'm saying. It is being. This is a whole agenda. Kevin Warsh being put in, the technocrat thing, Trump going into cryptos, Jamie Dimon and his boys pushing digital banking, his relationship with the IMF, his relationship indirectly with China. You can possibly see our banks go along with the SWIFT system out of the Chinese because they're upset with our system. And you'll see the Federal Reserve jump in and say, well, wait a minute, our currencies are going crazy. Maybe we should embrace this stuff as a means of stabilizing our currency. That's what you'll see from Warsh. This is a setup.
Okay, so what you're saying is, and we've never talked about this word with you, this is the Hegelian dialectic. Thesis and antithesis, idea, opposite idea. You get them to conflict, and then you go to a third option or a third way that is seen as the solution. So are you telling me that this whole thing could be theater in order to manufacture a crisis? Now, would Trump and his family know this? Or are they probably not bright enough to know that, or not read up enough? I don't say not bright enough, but not read up enough on this to know?
I think Trump realizes the building days are over, and the way for his family to be enriched for the future when he's in a better place is to take advantage of putting him in the number one hotspot of finance in the world right now, which is currencies, and that's going to be cryptos. He embraced it. They got the Trump coin. They're all over it. They're trying to push it globally. Why do they want to push it globally? Christine Lagarde, who's the head of the IMF and European monetary markets, is not overly excited about an uncontrolled digital world. And again, it's almost like my enemy's enemy is my friend. We're going to create our two enemies, and then all of a sudden, after banging heads and banging heads and banging heads, it's just like they're going to come out and say, well, all right, we're all going to get together, drink the Kool-Aid, sing Kumbaya, and this is what we're going to do now. But the government has got to control it. Control your retirement plan. Control savings, control dollars. I mean, it's going to be all...
They'll have to control all of that to keep there from being runs on the retirement accounts.
They don't want retirement accounts. They want, they borrow from Social Security every week to pay and put it back. It's a Ponzi scheme right now.
I agree with that. But I'm saying is, if enough Americans wake up to what's going on, they're going to be running for the exits with their own retirement accounts.
They won't. Americans will not wake up. And I hate to say it, I'm just hoping the people that we talk to do. Because by the time why didn't America wake up? Here it is, 55 years later. We've had somebody tell us we're going temporarily off the gold standard. We didn't. Why didn't we wake up and do something? Why didn't the people do something about it? They did nothing. Why didn't we wake up after 47 years in Iran of them killing our American soldiers, killing American people, and finally, and this is to the credit of President Trump, somebody doing something about it, killing some of them. I mean, Eisenhower and his generation would never have allowed this. We would have wiped them out a long time ago. I can assure you of that. So I don't have faith that all of America is going to wake up. I don't believe it'll happen.
Okay, so let's go back to the Warsh. So do you think Warsh, the new Fed chairman, was picked? And you think he will end up going along with the Jamie Dimons, and the Jamie Dimons and all of them will sit down and work out a deal that has the government in control?
I think he'll go along with the technocrats and the digital people initially, and then try to bring to the table who will be going to war the banks on the other end. And when the war is over, we'll have some pseudo society based on digital and bank.
When you say the war is over, when this conflict between the two, not the war in Iran, but when the conflict,
and whoever the president might be will come along. If it's a Democrat, we're going to be a socialist nation, so you don't have to worry about your money. You ain't going to have it anyways, unless you own gold. But if these guys run the show, they're going to sit back at that time and say, we've all drank Kool-Aid. We're all buddies now. Here's our solution. The government's going to create money agency, whatever they're going to call it. And we're going to create a way of making sure it doesn't happen. Every time they do that, say hello to the Federal Reserve. The United States, they created the Federal Reserve. These same type of people played that same agenda from the 1840s when they had the greenback scandal all the way to when they created the Federal Reserve in the 1920s, 1910s. Understand something. The Federal Reserve, since they've been about, and what their main function was to stabilize and secure the U.S. dollar, they allowed Nixon to do what he did in 71. Nobody from the Federal Reserve protected us. Why didn't they? And more importantly, Mr. Federal Reserve Board, why did the U.S. dollar go down 97% since the Federal Reserve has been involved? They've done a great job. Who needs them? Literally. That's why Kennedy wanted to get rid of them. It's a criminal enterprise.
Yep. All right, let me go to another clip. Here we go before we get ready to wrap. Here we go.
Well, this will be actually the biggest financial regulatory bill that Congress has done in quite some time, certainly since Dodd-Frank. But what this does actually is it creates clarity for the crypto sector. But interestingly, notwithstanding the concerns from the banks, it actually creates a broad range of new powers for the banks. In fact, this will be the first piece of legislation since the 90s that gives the banks new authorization to get into the crypto space. I know JP Morgan wants to get into it. Every other big bank wants to get into the crypto sector. We are welcome their entry. We work with many of them in helping them build the services that they want to offer their customers. So it's a big, important piece of legislation. It's transformational in its nature, and and we're very, very close to getting it done.
Well, there you go.
Well, this will be actually...
Okay. Comments, please, Michael?
Again, they're all right now moving everything forward as a very huge positive. He's somebody on the side of it. He's making it look like it's wonderful. And I can guarantee you the common person on the street, if you walked up to him and say, could you explain to me what digital currency is? Do you understand what that is? I don't think they understand how they come up with the value of their dollar, but they won't have a clue of what they're talking about. All they're telling us is they're creating something or regulating something that nobody understands to be a new form of monetary exchange and wealth preservation, that nobody has a clue of how it really works. And it's a shell game. It's a continued shell game. All the people are selling it, and all these people who are selling it, for all the people that understand, they're not going to lose a dime. You are going to lose a dime. Mm-hmm. You are going to lose your assets. You are going to have a revaluation, just like my grandfather did. My grandfather was worth $500,000 in 1933. That's a lot of money. Okay, when Roosevelt got done doing what he did, my grandfather lost everything 8 years later, and that's because he was a spender and a stupid man. He wasn't. But he just couldn't hold on to all the devaluations and the cutbacks that went on that destroyed a generation of wealth. And we still came out of it, but there was a new generation of rich, which was Standard Oil that Rockefeller owned because he stole the oil land, and the Kennedys and all their stuff. You know how many people live on the Kennedy Trust? Does anybody have an idea? What do you think? There's just 3 or 4 family members? There's several hundred people that live off the Kennedy Trust that don't work. Several hundred people. That's how wealthy they were. Same thing with the Rockefellers. This type of wealth will be established to a certain amount of people, and it's the same thing why in 2008, Brandon, and I'll leave you with this.
Uh-oh, did he just freeze? All right, we'll get him back. And while we're getting him back, let me read this. This was in my article. I wanted to comment on this. This was in my article, which is now at worldviewtimes.com. It's also in my commentary tonight from the Worldview Report. In the eyes of the law, when you deposit money in a bank, you do not own money sitting in a vault with your name on it. You've made an unsecured loan to that institution. This is not conspiracy theory. It is settled law reaching all the way back to the English courts of the 1840s and written directly into the way our own regulators handle a failed bank. You are a creditor. And in the line of creditors, the secured parties, that's the institution's own obligations, are made whole first. You stand at the back. Yes, deposit insurance exists up to a limit, but understand what the insurance actually is. A promise designed to prevent panic, not a vault of cash equal to every deposit in the country. The 2013 confiscation of large uninsured depositors' savings in Cyprus was not a glitch. It was a preview of a legal framework that already exists. Folks, if you remember in Cyprus, in 2013, they did bail-ins, not bail-outs, bail-ins, okay? And I have played the video. Can you find it? It's probably too hard to find, Logan. I have a video of a restaurant owner in Cyprus. A restaurant owner in Cyprus, and I've played it. It's in our vault, actually, Logan. And she's a restaurant owner. And there's video of her running around managing her restaurant. She's a hard worker. She's a hands-on owner. And she had something like $100,000 taken out of her account as part of that bail-in, not bail-out, as they did here in America in 2008, but a bail-in. And it was like $100,000 gone. Okay. Now, we've played the video here from a few years ago when it was, what was it, the FDIC, and they had their little bank meeting and they were all sitting around the table talking about the next time it's going to be a bail-in, not a bail-out. Remember that? Wasn't that the FDIC we have on video talking about that? So in my commentary tonight, I talked about that in the eyes of the law, you don't own the money sitting in the vault. Okay. That goes back again to the fact you're an uninsured creditor. And you stand at the back.
That's all part of the Dodd-Frank's law, Brandon, that came out. And as I said earlier, how did they get the Dodd-Frank's law? It was a product of a chaotic situation in 2008. So they created the Dodd-Frank's law, which is a total disaster, and legitimately created bail-in, which some of you don't know what it is. Give me a call. Basically, you're becoming a creditor to the bank and not a depositor. So they don't have to give you your money. They can just pay you out bits like you have minimum payments. And I understand that what I was trying to finish before is the same thing I'm saying now, and that is the people in 2008 that legitimately ran these financial institutions and did all that. When your children had to move home with you, when you were struggling and some of you had to go back to work because of it, they didn't lose a dime. They made money. So they don't suffer, you do. This is your money. Do something about it.
Yep. So I want to go back to what my article was saying, and that is, people say, well, there's the FDIC. That is not a dollar for dollar insurance system. In other words, they may tell you up to $250,000 you have insurance on your account. But that's only if the FDIC has the money sitting there. And as I understand it from researching the law, if the FDIC runs out of money because they have too many bank failures, they have to go back to Congress and ask Congress for more money to replenish the fund, right? And Congress doesn't have to give it to them.
That's right. And it's the same thing as people who buy annuities. If people don't understand it, when you have an annuity, it's not backed by anything. Annuities are backed by the insurance company. They will tell you it's a AAA rated insurance company and you have nothing to be worried about. Well, the United States was AAA rated. We went to double. But just remember a company called AIG, who was the largest insurance carrier of annuities in the country. And guess what? We bailed them out in 2009. You and I, the American people, saved them from going bankrupt because of the amount of dollars that they stood to lose. And that was a bailout that they still haven't paid all the money back. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Logan, look on YouTube real quick. I'm doing the same thing because I got to try to find it in my library, but eventually. But see if you can find the lady that was a restaurant owner that had $100,000 taken out of her account in 2013 in Cyprus. In the meantime, I think I might have a news story because I want people to understand this is not a joke, okay? This really did happen. Let's see if I can find one of these examples here. Let me try this one right here, Logan. I'm probably going to have to wait for a commercial to go by as always. But, and again, we could go back and play the FDIC recording where they were joking about this happening a couple years ago. That talking about how, we have to be careful how much we say to the public. Okay? Let's try this right here. Let's see if this is it, Logan.
Global worries stemming from that financial crisis in the Mediterranean nation of Cyprus.
Now, that's stocks sliding across Asia this morning, and it was a major reason for the Dow's 90-point skid yesterday. ABC's Nick Schifrin is in Cyprus, where worry and anger is rampant.
Cyprus is nearly broke, and the social fabric is beginning to tear. Bank workers worried about their future blocked access to parliament. Lawmakers had to be lifted over the barricades. Outside the banks, the lines are long. Customers worried.
If you don't have cash now, can't do anything.
The banks haven't opened for 7 days, so Cyprus is becoming a cash society, and yet it's hard to get cash.
No accounts, no cards, no nothing.
And so what will they do?
God knows. Suicide.
Oh.
Increasingly, this is happening. What happened?
There's no money. I mean, I couldn't get any money out, and then my card won't come out.
That's the nightmare that so many are facing.
You had a problem with this bank as well?
We walked with her to the next ATM.
And psychologically, how much of an impact has this had?
Well, we feel so insecure. We feel very...
All right. So that's not the one I was looking for, but it shows you how bad it was. I do remember watching news stories on that, and the people that were surviving were the people that had gold coins.
I think one of the guys here, his father at the company, his father was living in Cyprus, who's since passed away, a wonderful guy. And what held him together was the gold coins that he had. He was like a king at that time there, literally, right when that was happening.
Absolutely unfortunate for sure. But do we have those clips from the FDIC, Logan, where they were joking about a bailout next time? Do you have that?
I think that the whole thing at that time that was going on in this country was trying to take advantage of as many moves as they can under Obama. And that's where, again, he passed the Dodd-Frank's law and the Sarbanes-Oxley law, which empowered the securities firms to be able to share information with the government and be complicit in all whatever they wanted to do, and nobody paid attention.
All right, guys, I found the clip. Mike, I found it. Here it is. Here it is. Watch this.
Cyprus is broke. The banks are failing. Incredibly, for the first time in the global financial crisis, bank accounts are being raided. People's savings are being seized. Not a bailout, but a bail-in, with bank customers bearing the burden. You can drive around this rocky island in a day, a predominantly Greek-speaking country on the doorstep of the Middle East, population less than 1 million. We've come here as Cypriots absorb the shock of what's happened. In the evening at this souvlaki bar in the capital Nicosia, we get a sense of the mood.
The financial crisis is making me very sad. Sad because I'm watching people suffer, people that haven't done any mistakes. People have worked hard for years, for their whole lifetime, to save some money. And then overnight, they lose it. This is not fair.
Sofia, εδώ είναι το 6, παρακαλώ.
Eula Dimitriou is the matriarch of this family business. She's going to have 80,000 euros taken from her savings, about $100,000. Harsh treatment the European powers have demanded nowhere else in return for financial aid.
λαό του να πάει πάνω και άλλη ακόμα 2 λεπτά. We feel we are being used as a guinea pig here. They want to see, Europe wants to see if this will work, and then they can do it in another place. I have friends in France, in Italy, in Spain, in Greece, and they are scared. They said this has happened once, it may happen again.
Well, there you go. Now, I played that years ago, and what did I say? $100,000? Well, that was in US dollars, 80, I guess, in euros, 80,000. But there you go. That was 13 years ago that was loaded onto YouTube. And there it is. And she said then, I think we're the guinea pig. Mike?
The people are the guinea pigs, and that's why we talk about the fact of things happening overnight. When we warn people and try to give them information, and Worldview does in so many topics, that's wonderful that you do, Brandon. The reality is that the people suffer. You are the who knows who created the chaos in Cyprus that created this banking problem. Some of it's probably connected to us. But who are suffering? The people. And just like that lady said, overnight, she had money one day, didn't have money the next. Same thing my grandfather went through, and same thing in a worse expense that we went through in 1971. You had money that had something that backed it of value, and the next day you had zero. And we did nothing, and that's why we're at now. So when we talk about what we're coming up to in the months ahead, not years ahead, months ahead, understand if you do not you have the opportunity now, fortunately, to protect yourself. Either you do it, or you can sit back and pay a lot more and get a lot less, or maybe get nothing. Because the first thing that they will do to all of you is stop movement. They won't take your money at first. They'll stop your ability to move it, and then they'll take it. It's like a musical chairs, same thing.
All right, I found the FDIC clip. This is from a meeting back in 2022. I think this meeting took place. Watch and listen to this. This is the FDIC. Remember we played this? We played this several times. Here we go.
Of reaching a public that doesn't have a professional need to know.
Did you hear that? The professional need to know the public? Hang on, again.
Accessible when people need to know, but I don't think you have much hope of reaching a public that doesn't have a professional need to know.
I completely agree with that. I almost think you'd scare the public if you put this out. Like, why are they telling me this? Should I be concerned about my bank? Like, my insurance company doesn't tell me what they're doing with my assets. They just assume they're going to pay my claim. Right? I think you've got to think of the unintended consequences of taking a public that has more full faith and confidence in the banking system than maybe people in this room do, that we want them to have full faith and confidence.
By the way, the people in this room, the public has more faith in the banking system than we do in this room. All right? That should tell you an awful lot. Here we go.
Banking system. They know the FDIC insurance is there. They know it works. They put their money in. They're going to get their money out. So there's a select crowd of people that are in the institutional side. And if they want to understand this, they're going to find a way to understand this. There's a bunch of law firms represented in this room. There's a bunch of people that charge them by the hour a lot of money to explain this all to them. And it's fine. I don't have a problem with that. And they all have huge staffs. But I would be careful about the unintended consequences of starting to blast too much of this out in the general public.
I wondered whether there are some market tests of whether you're being heard. And I think about TLAC. So TLAC should respond to good and bad news about the institutions. And it's really important. I mean, it's a little bit conflicted, right? I mean, it's important that people understand they can be bailed in, but you don't want a huge run on the institution. But they're going to be. And it could be an early warning signal to the FDIC and the primary regulators when these things happen. And there may be some other prices. This is similar to what Jay was saying in the market that you can tell whether people understand who's going to be protected, who isn't going to be protected. It would be, I think, an interesting study to look at the evolution of market prices in a situation like March of 2020, for example, and see whether people understood what might happen.
I'd like to go back to some of Dick's early comments. I do think it is hard to get a lot of demand for transparency right now in this sort of period of peacetime, but that is going to flip, and it's going to flip probably even faster than we saw in 2008, where the need for communications really quickly in the social media world to avoid disinformation, to have some holding patterns for things like, I remember in the early days of bail-in, people saying they're coming for my deposits, right? So just holding communications that you can pull out that are helpful to deal with disinformation, some very simple things, and how quickly you'll be able to deal with different constituencies. For example, as liabilities are further up and closer to harm's way, when are you going to be able to give them some comfort, if any? How do you deal with foreign operations? How do you communicate to some of those different groups? I think ex-ante preparation for the speed of scaling up and the ability to get information out to avoid rumors taking over the narrative strikes me as probably the place that feels like it's got the most benefit in a world where I think you've done a pretty good job of getting out the basics of Title II and some of the basic resources that are available now.
Wow. They're planning something. That's 2022. Don't you think they're planning something?
Interesting. Yeah. Well, it's the same thing that's going on right now. The same thing that's happening. They don't think you need to know. That's been going on literally since they created the Federal Reserve. The reality is they think, for your own knowledge, let's bring it down to a level where people can pay attention a little bit. And that is, your financial people think you're smart enough to say, here's 100,000, or here's 10 million, or here's 2 million, here's 10,000, here's 2,000. But you're not smart enough to know the background of what really is going on. You don't have to know. We'll tell you later. That's not how this country was formed. Literally, it was formed where we were supposed to be informed, not told. Okay, and too many people find this to be in reverse. That's the wonderful thing about a 46-year career in gold that I have. Gold's black and white. You bought it for X, you pay Y, you get delivery of it, you have an asset, you control it, you don't have to say anything to anybody. And that's why the government made it illegal for 40 years. They did not want you empowered. They did not want you to have the capacity to protect yourself. And be assured of the fact, somewhere in the future, that's why Brandon and I talk so much about numismatic gold, because it's the only thing you can own that they can't bother with under their own laws that empower them to do everything they want to do. Because the Roosevelt law gives them the capacity to play all this new currency games without going to Congress.
Mm-hmm. Let me play one last clip. And hopefully it's a different clip. Let's see if this is a different clip, guys. Let's see here. I had it queued up and ready to go. Now it's messed up again. Hold on, guys. All right, let's stop this one.
When people need to know.
But there are some market tests of whether you're being heard. And I think about TLAC. So TLAC spread should respond to good and bad news.
So we heard this one
about the institutions, and it's really important. I mean, it's a little bit conflicted, right? I mean, it's important that people understand they can be bailed in, but you don't want a huge run on the institution. But they're going to be.
Okay, whoa, that one's new. We played this before, but we didn't play this one tonight. Did you hear what he just said? Here we go again, guys.
And it could be an early warning.
Back up on me, but let me get it to back. I don't know why they use these players. What's with this player, Logan?
I don't think you have much hope.
That's a screen recording?
The FDIC and the...
Where's the player? Okay. What do you mean down? Won't go down. Oh, that's a screenshot. No wonder it was doing that. Okay, that's a screenshot of the player. Okay, here we go.
There are some market tests of whether you're being heard. And I think about TLAC. So TLAC spread should respond to good and bad news about the institutions, and it's really important. I mean, it's a little bit conflicted, right? I mean, it's important that people understand they can be bailed in, but you don't want a huge run on the institution. But they're going to be. And it could be an early warning signal to the FDIC and the primary regulators when these things happen. And there may be some other prices, this is similar to what Jay was saying, in the market that you can tell whether people understand who's going to be protected, who isn't going to be protected. It would be.
But you get that? He says the bail-ins are going to happen.
Study to
Did you hear him say that, Michael? Is that what he said? Bail-ins are going to happen.
Exactly. He's saying it's going to happen, and we'll deal with it. Basically, we'll deal with it at that time.
And it sounds like they're going to be.
We shouldn't warn about it. We should let it happen.
And did it not sound like to you they were saying we're going to have to pick the winners and the losers?
Yep.
Who will get bailed in? Who will get bailed in? Who will get bailed out?
But none of the people at that table are going to lose.
Well, they said that the public has more faith in the banking system than those of us in this room.
Exactly. So they know the game, but they don't want to share it with everybody else. It's the same thing that went on with COVID. There's another thing of governmental takeover. When they sat back, came up with all the vaccines, turn around, and then Biden made it mandatory and everybody running around like puppets. And they were loving every minute of that. That was a great example of future socialism. Maybe that's why we got all these little socialists now, because they walked around with those triple masks on. Ridiculous. I just went to Los Angeles to visit my son, and some woman was in a car with a double mask on and the windows up. Give me a break. In that car with you, lady. Seriously. God, it's ridiculous.
All right, that's it. I mean, come on, folks. I don't know how much we can say other than what we've said. Trying to do as much as we can to educate the public. I don't give financial advice. I give financial opinion. But there's a lot going on that the public's not paying attention to. And all of these things are connected. I think one of the big stories tonight is the thesis and antithesis, the idea, the war going on between the Jamie Dimons of the world, the tech bros of this world, and then how are they going to work it all out when they realize what they've done or what they allowed to happen, and then rush in and create the solution after the crisis.
And we're all the victims.
Yeah.
So talk about protection, Brandon.
Buyer beware, right? Buyer beware. Get your free packet, no obligation, 1-877-864-1072, 1-877-864-1072, or worldviewgold.com. Thank you, Michael. Hey, do we have a video, Logan? We have a video, a special video. I have not seen it, but the guys in the control room filed a report with Dolly this afternoon. Dolly is let's go to the studio camera, Dolly cam. She's really worn out today because she's been very busy being the studio dog and the protector of the network and the mascot.
And the vice president of animal services.
The greeter who greets everybody. So anyway, she filed a report today with the boys in the control room on her job. I've not seen it. I've just heard about it. You want to play it, Logan? It's not perfect. Well, all right, let's see. Some of the scenes don't really look like her. Okay, here we go, though. Here we go. Oh, look at that.
People think Brannon runs this network. That's adorable. 5 a.m., I'm the first one in. I check the lighting. I check the teleprompter. I check if anyone left a sandwich unattended. During the live show, I maintain perimeter security. If a delivery truck pulls up 2 blocks away, I know. I personally taste test every product. The 25-year emergency food supply, I give it 25 years. The freeze-dried snacks, we're now out of samples. Reorder. It's a big job. The content, the mission, the squirrels in the parking lot who still haven't been held accountable. But somebody's got to keep this place running. And let's be honest, I'm the only one here who works for treats instead of a paycheck.
Very good. Very good. We need more of that, Logan. We need more reports being filed by Dolly.
We know the mind behind everything right now.
Yep, exactly. And that's why she's out over there conked out. She's worn out. Do you have the video to show Michael Weiner at the end of the show the other night, how she knows? She's asleep, but subconsciously she's listening to everything we say. Do we have that video, Logan? The other night, and Delta did this too. Delta got my other lab before her half-sister, got where she, God rest her soul, right? Because she had to be put to sleep. No, she was put to sleep after she had terminal cancer, and she was bleeding out. So we had to put her to sleep because she was bleeding out and in pain. But hard to believe that's going to be 3 years ago this August. Dolly's 2, just turned 2 in May. But Delta would know when the show was going to go off too by what I would say. Dolly does too. She knows, and I tried to show the audience the other night that I'm not making this up. She really does. So I let the audience think I was signing off, even though I wasn't officially signing off at that very moment. I was just letting them see how, which I did sign off, but I wanted them to see how this really works. Do we have that, Logan? Watch this. Vault. All right, roll the music. Let's call it a night. One more shot of Dolly before we call it a night for the new instituted Dolly Cam. Now watch what I say. See what she does. All right, guys, that's our broadcast for tonight. As always, thank you for tuning in and supporting the broadcast. Till next time at Brandon House, may God save America. Take care. You see? She knows the slogan, guys. Okay, can you go back a little bit, Logan? You can see her eyes open at some point. Did you see that? Go back a little bit. She's paying attention subconsciously, and you see her eyes pop up before she moves. Can you show that? Till next time at Brandon House, may God save America. Take care. You saw her. I saw her eyes open. She was very. All right, guys, that's our broadcast for tonight. That's our broadcast for tonight. Is all. Thank you for tuning in and supporting the broadcast. Till next time at Brandon. There you go. You saw her eyes blink. Take care. You see? She knows. She's listening to everything we say. She's just waiting for me to say the magic words.
He's in charge.
Yep,
Good night, all.
All right. Thank you. Michael Weiner checking in, guys. Worldviewgold.com or 1-877-864-1072. Roll the music. Let's call it a night. Here we go. If you appreciate what we're doing, we appreciate your support. That's for sure. Worldviewfoundation.com. Worldviewfoundation.com. Or you can use that phone number, 901-825-0652. Leave a voicemail for Melissa or text her. She'll get back to you, help you make that contribution over the phone. As I always say, you will find our mailing address on that same website as well if you prefer to support us through the mail. Till next time, I am Brandon House. May God save America. Take care.